As a chef, food is not just a job for me. It allows me to tell a story. And this story so happens to be about the place I was born. I'm Warren Mendes. Here I am, dancing and eating, of course.
There's a braai in my mouth and the sausage rolls invited.
I've returned to South Africa to uncover the hidden gems and true treasures of this incredible nation.
An elephant while we're cooking this recipe. Totally normal here.
So I'm taking you with me on an adventure-filled food trail of this diverse country.
Look! Seals!
Exploring its surreal sights.
It looks honestly like a green screen, but it's real.
Wild sounds.
Whoa! Bless you.
And big flavors.
Spectacular. This colour, this spice. This dish looks like South African.
But most importantly, I'll be uncovering the faces behind the food of this beautiful land. This is Food Trail South Africa.
Look at that! Look how beautiful that is!
I've found myself at a very unique hotel, situated along the Sabi River, which runs through the Kruger National Park, an incredible source of life to animals and all of the villages along it. This is Kruger Shalati, the train on the bridge. Once a transport link to the Kruger, today the train has been restored into stationary individual suites, creating an incredibly special hotel, gazing over the immense river, an ever-changing landscape to sit back and enjoy in wonder. It is here I meet my guide Bonga, who is a fiend for finding wild animals, but is also rather fond of the fascinating history of this train on the bridge.
This is so cool, man.
Those hippos.
Look at this. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Let me show you what's going on around.
Okay, well, it can't be better than that.
The biodiversity of the Sabi River, it's quite fantastic. We've got hippos beneath the bridge. We've got elephants coming through to drink and also swim. We had leopards there as well. I mean, it was just amazing.
So, Bonga, why is there this train on the bridge?
In 1923, James Stevenson Hamilton proposed a round-in-9 tour. The tour would start from Johannesburg, stop at Maputo, and then stop on this bridge for overnight. And then now, Shalati actually wanted to replicate what happened in those days.
So just like it's the 20s, except we've got a pool, good food, and luxury.
100%. And then we've got a sister restaurant as well, which is the station. And then that's where they're making one of the most amazing pizzas in Kruger.
Ooh, pizza is my language. I need one of those. So this is the old Kruger station?
Yes, 36, 38. And then this is referred to this little beautiful locomotive.
It was truly a sight to see this vintage locomotive stationed in the middle of the Kruger National Park, a monument of history and a relic backdrop to this modern eatery. And to complement it, I was about to tuck into one of my favourite things, fresh wood-fired pizza, but with a South African twist. Bobotie mince slathered in melted cheese with hints of spice and sweet that keep your palate excited and keep your stomach asking for more. But as much as I'd love to stay and eat pizza with a chilled Chardonnay all day, I have an appointment with some locals. And so, as is customary in these parts, Bonga and I head out on safari in South Africa's most well-known sanctuary, the Kruger National Park.
Your background, you're Xhosa, aren't you? Or it's Xhosa.
Yeah, Xhosa. It's at the back of your...
Harder for me to get. Xhosa.
There you go, well done.
What is your favourite South African food then?
Oh, that's a difficult one. Because I'm from the coast, so it would be sort of like the Cape Malay style, including bobotie.
So you do have a favourite food?
It depends where I am. When I do a game drive, all your senses come to life. You pick up any, unusual behaviour as you drive along.
So is it strange that you can see the owl during the day?
Yeah, so this is really, really fortunate. Normally they sort of like hide in a very, very high, thick canopy. Yeah, it's so beautiful with those pink eyelids. Just looking straight into your eye.
I think it's now like you disrupted my routine.
Yeah. Each and every game drive is quite unique because these animals have got different characters, different everything. So once you sort of do so many drives, you kind of like get used to them. And then sometimes you kind of, oh, that's Jim, that's George there. Kruger is the most diverse national park in the whole world. To be able to work here is just unbelievable because you don't stop learning.
And that's the thing, I think you don't have to see all these big game. Like seeing some beautiful birds is actually really interesting as well.
Exactly. Ooh, look at this little guy just on there. This is a hammerkop. It comes from that head. If you look at it, it looks like a hammer. So it's eating fish.
He keeps on dipping it in the water as if to give it some more sauce. I recommend to get that catfish down would be a glass of Chardonnay.
And just as we were about to wrap up our drive, Bonga and I make one last stop to keep you thrill seekers covered.
Maybe a bit loud for the lions.
There's 2 males.
Too
They're
much.
just chilling out now because it's overcast. It's not too hot.
Do they need to eat every day, or can they wait?
No. So basically, lions, they can eat sort of like once a week or so.
Yeah.
They've got a buffalo, then they will feed on that. They
Yeah.
can stay up to about a month without having to eat.
No eating for a month?
No eating, yeah.
Was that enough lions? No? Okay, here's some more.
So you can see, if you look at the scars, it just tells the story that she's been around for quite a while.
She's had a few fights in her time.
Yeah, and the pride would be still around the area.
Yeah. So we're definitely not alone.
No.
I'm not sure what filled up my cup more on this brief visit to the train on the bridge at Kruger Shalati. The abundance of wildlife in the Kruger, the uniqueness of the hotel itself, or the humility of my guide and new friend Bonga. The incredible spirit of this place has given me immense energy to continue my food trail across this fascinating region. Coming up, my South African take on the iconic creme brulee.
Bitterness from that burnt sugar, and then Rooibos just sings South African.
After a blissful day exploring the Kruger National Park with my guide Bonga, it was time for me to cook up a dish made up of 2 of my favourite things.
Waste box check. Ooh, jeez. Just so you know, on camera, there's a big fall there. Okay, let's just do this. Rooibos is the magical native South African ingredient, usually reserved for the teacup, but today it's destined for my creme brulee. And when you're cooking somewhere like here at Kruger Shalati, it is both aptly a surprising ingredient, but also a very brilliant ingredient to use too. The first thing we're gonna do is infuse some cream with this Rooibos. So a pot of cream. The other ingredient I'm gonna use is some vanilla bean. And as soon as this cream comes to a boil, you want to turn off the heat. Now you could use some electric beaters here, but there's nothing wrong with a bit of manual work. So we need 6 egg yolks in here, some caster sugar, always with a pinch of salt. We're just going to whisk those. So either get someone else to help you or just get an arm workout. Just going to help with the spritzing. Whew. It actually is quite hard work. Okay, as soon as that's nice and pale, just pour over that infused cream. And then just using a spatula, press down on those Rooibos tea bags. Rooibos has kind of a naturally sweet, but also a bit of a nutty flavor, which just goes so well with the creme brulee. And so these egg yolks have now been kind of tempered, and we're gonna cook them through entirely by baking this in the oven. And now get every last drop. And now to ensure that that custard bakes really gently, I'm just gonna add some water to the pan here. And there's just a really nice even cook. Into the oven at 130 degrees for about 30 minutes until they just set in the center. Now to go with the creme brulees, they're perfect by themselves. Did you hear that? That is a big hippo. With the creme brulees, I'm going to be doing a really crispy and easy chocolate shortbread. You definitely want some creme brulee. I'm going to be doing a very easy shortbread, which has been spiked with a lot of cocoa. It's going to kind of provide a bit of crunch, which you can dip into that creme brulee. So very soft butter, and just going to go in with some caster sugar. And that is pretty much all the hard work. Some plain flour, a decent amount of cocoa, and some salt flakes. And now fold through all those ingredients. Just get your hands in there and start to knead that mixture and bring it into a dough. And the trick so it doesn't stick is get another piece of baking paper and then just press everything down. And now the joy of being in the bush is that I get to choose my implements. I think I'm gonna go the bigger guy and just roll this out until it's about ½ centimeter thick. This thing is ridiculous. Look at this. This is gonna go in the oven for about 12 minutes at 180. And as soon as it's out the oven, the creme brulees will be ready too. Okay, so I've got this beautiful chocolate shortbread, and the only thing better than this chocolate shortbread is that incredible view. Look at that! It almost looks like it's a fake background. The creme brulees have set beautifully in the oven, and then I've put them in the fridge. And now we have the really fun bit. We get to brulee the tops. You're gonna have to have a blowtorch for this, but I think that's half the fun of making a creme brulee. Get about a tablespoon of caster sugar on top. Make sure there's no kids around. We're gonna get some flames. And now be in quick slashy is not a word. So in quick movements, just go across the sugar, and that way you're not gonna burn it. And you're gonna get that deep brown golden color, and that means flavor. Now, these creme brulees have a South African twist on them, so I'm definitely going to need a South African chef to give them a tick of approval. Chef Wussy is the incredible chef who works here at Kruger Shalati and has made some amazing meals, so I know you'll be able to tell me whether I've passed the test in terms of South African desserts.
They look amazing. Almost too perfect to eat.
The mark of a good creme brulee is the smash. You go first. Okay, tell me what you think.
Amazing. It's cream's rooibos. Absolutely delicious.
Bitterness from the chocolate, bitterness from that burnt sugar, and then the rooibos just sings South Africa.
Fantastic combination.
Thank you,
Well done, chef. Congratulations.
There is something about cracking into a brulee, the thrill of smashing the candied layer, then exposing a luscious and sweet filling. The rooibos providing a brilliant backing track to a creamy dessert. And as the African sunset does its thing, the train on the bridge stands in all its glory. And I'm pretty excited to see what pictures will be painted through my carriage window tomorrow. Up next, rhinos and chakalaka. Now that's my type of morning routine.
This is very nice, actually.
Next, I move further into the bush, where I'll be visiting my go-to lodge, the incredible Sabi Sabi. This time, I'm staying at Bush Lodge, a sprawling oasis perched within the density of the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, where I'll be sharing the environment with plenty of interesting neighbours. My guide is Cream, who is happy to take me on a very special morning drive, and I've made a deal to make him breakfast afterwards. His friend and tracker Zulu will join us for what he promises to be an unforgettable experience, tracking rhino.
I love animals and I like the nature. Most of the time, actually, I call myself a bush baby. This is actually like my home.
Okay, Cream, I've had my coffee. Now can you find me some rhino?
Oh, yes. Can do that. Zulu is the one actually can find the tracks and find there. So he is the man. My grandfather, he was the tracker. And my uncle taught me this job. Because I like talking, actually. I am a talkative person. But if you are a guide, that's where you have time actually to speak to people and learn about the bush.
And keen to learn I am. But it's not long before Zulu and Cream spot some rhino tracks.
There's the tracks over here. I think now we're very close to these rhinos. I'm thinking let's go on foot to track them and see if we can find them.
Getting out and walking?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you good?
I'll follow you, though.
You heard right. I'm going to look for rhino on foot. It's amazing to watch these guys together. How they read the land, listen for bird calls, and follow faint tracks in the sand. All these indicators telling them how close we are getting to the unsuspecting rhino.
The bush guys can talk to you. Just listen to the bush. There's birds, trees that can talk to you too. They will tell you something about the nature.
So apparently those rhino are just around the corner and we're going to be able to approach them on foot to get really close. It's the first time I've done this on foot before. It's the real bush experience.
Hey there. We found the rhinos.
It works. So there's no one there.
Yeah. Let's be quiet. So the white rhinos, you will find them in the open areas, and where actually there's more shorter grass.
Yeah, so they're eating all this type of grass, yeah?
Yes. 170 kilograms a day.
A day?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
That's a lot. You have to be a vegetarian.
Nah.
So after an unforgettable rhino tracking experience, it's time for me to hold up my end of the bargain, so I'm returning to Bush Lodge to cook up a breakfast that I hope Cream will be happy with.
Sounds fine. Hair's good. Cue the elephants, please. Chakalaka is South Africa's iconic spicy relish, and the Sabi Sabi version is very famous in these parts. But it's such a closely guarded secret that I have to interpret it myself and do my own version. So I'm going to be making a breakfast chakalaka, served in vetkoek, South Africa's fried bread roll. And because this isn't a true chakalaka, I've decided to call this chakalaka, because laka means good. I'm starting off with some beautiful, crispy bacon. In with some onions, some capsicum, a bit of salt, and a decent amount of pepper. And we'll cook that for about 3 to 4 minutes until it's nice and soft. Being a chakalaka, it needs lots of spice. So some curry powder, some hot paprika. Cook that down with a bit of garlic as well. And when I say a bit, I mean a lot. And then we'll let that cook for about another minute. Hanson, speak slowly as the onions should cook. Better? I should cut down the coffee in the morning, maybe. I'm just going to add some thyme, some tomato paste, some fresh tomatoes, and then my secret weapon is chipotle chilies. So this is going to give a great smokiness Definitely not traditional, but it's going to give it an awesome, awesome kick. Also a bit of sugar and then cut through with a decent amount of vinegar. And you can see in this pan, just from all the colors, that there is so much flavor happening in here. So a carrot, which is quite traditional. I've tried to take as many of the secret ingredients from the Sabi Sabi chakalaka, but I can tell you, cooking this chakalaka out in this setting, monkeys squealing, bull elephants in the background, it doesn't get much better than that. Cook that down for about 15 to 20 minutes. That's just enough time for me to grab another cup of coffee and take in the view. So this chakalaka has cooked down beautifully. All those flavors have intensified and it's become nice and jammy. I've just got some cooked beans, so you could use any beans you want. So much flavor in there, packed with a bit of heat and spice. And that is the chakalaka done. On to the next breakfast bit of this recipe, which is the vet cook, which is Afrikaans for fat cake, or in Xhosa or Zulu, you say amagwinya. And essentially, this is going to be the fried bread dough, which houses that incredibly flavored chakalaka.
To make the dough, I'll need some warm water, adding in some instant yeast, a bit of caster sugar, and some oil. I'll add a couple of cups of flour, then mix in with a wooden spoon.
You could also use a stand mixer with the dough attachment, but I'm here in the bush, so we're just going to rely on a bit of elbow grease. As soon as that dough has a bit of legs when you stretch it up, we've kneaded it enough. And I'm swapping it out with this monster, which has been resting for about an hour. And so it's a bit easier, because we have a sticky dough, to oil your hands up. And that way, you're really going to be able to grab bits of this lush dough, squeeze it together, and then form it into some balls. Now, vet cook should be a bit rustic, so don't worry if they're not absolutely perfect rounds. Now, the reason that Sabi Sabi is my favorite kitchen to cook in is if you look in the distance there, a bunch of wildebeest, that's pretty special. Oil is nice and hot. Be careful with this. Don't let the kids do it probably. Vet cook obviously are a bit of an indulgence, so you've got to be careful, because if you have too many vet cook, you could very well become a fat cook. They won't use that. Okay, so that's looking great. Both sides deep golden. Okay, so that last vet cook done. And you'll see as soon as they come out of the oil, they're really crispy on the outside, but as they cool down, they become like clouds and really nice and soft. Creamson, you're going to be the taste tester. Definitely worked up a big appetite on that drive. Chakalaka Sabi Sabi is the best in the world, you reckon?
Yeah, it is.
It's a big call.
It is, yeah.
But now let's see what you think of some chakalaka. Some basil leaves.
Cheers.
There's not a pretty way to do this.
Yeah. Oh, it's very nice. I'll actually go for these every day. I won't mind. This is very nice, actually. Well done, chef.
My breakfast wasn't thanks enough for cream, but I'm glad he approved. Coming up, South African spring rolls. And elephants, of course.
An elephant while we're cooking this recipe. Totally normal here.
I am always attracted to the kitchen, so I find myself exploring the Sabi Sabi kitchen to meet head chef Wilfred, who, as well as being on staff here for 10 years, has started an internship program to train up young chefs.
The intern program, I was moving around in the village where I see the youths doing nothing, because some of the kids, they don't have money to go to school to pay.
Chef Precious is one particular young chef who is thriving under his guidance. So I've asked her to cook up something we can take on our sunset game drive.
So I'm apron free today because there are two awesome chefs in this outdoor kitchen instead of me, Chef Wilfred and Precious.
They're making me a spiced mincemeat known as bobotie, packed into a crispy spring roll.
Bobotie is one of my favorite recipes in South Africa. Chef Precious, you're the one who's going to be guiding us through.
Yes.
So you've got your onions sweating down.
Now I'm gonna add some garlic.
Chef Wilfred, this is one of your recipes, isn't it?
Yes, Warren, it's a very popular recipe that we always cook in Sabi Sabi. It goes well with your gin and tonics.
You do seem like you know exactly what you're doing, because you were trained by this great man, Chef Wilfred.
Precious, it has been here almost a year.
It's only been 1 year, and you're already cooking like this.
Definitely.
Took me a lot longer than that. Over the years, how many students have passed through your kitchen that have now gone on to become chefs?
In the last 8 years, we've got about 40 to 50 students.
Oh, wow. And so, Precious, you obviously love cooking. What is it that you love about South African food? If you could pick one or two recipes, what would you say is your favorite type of food? Is it too hard? It's too hard to answer that question. I know. I can't answer that question.
Like there's too many things.
There's too many things.
Yeah.
Well, look, that means you're a true lover of food, because there's just too many things on offer.
Think about it.
Maybe, Precious, now you can turn the tables and you can teach us how to roll
Teach
spring
us
rolls.
how to roll a spring roll, and then we can be able to see.
You've got your spring roll pastry.
Why you put your spring rolls in the angle?
I just want them to be rolled perfectly.
Okay, good answer. Okay, because I've never done it at an angle like that. So obviously that's why mine are never perfect. So chef, a couple of tablespoons of the filling.
So now I'm gonna check some eggs and brush.
She's doing exactly as you taught her, I assume.
That's the way.
This is a new way of rolling a spring roll. I've never rolled it this way.
Some flour
Flour on the outside.
Why you put flour?
to make it stronger.
Oh,
She's good.
it's very, very good.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It's an elephant. An elephant while we're cooking this recipe. Babudi spring rolls and an elephant's walking behind us. Yeah, totally normal here. Okay, Chef, maybe this time you can see if I do it right. Now, both you and Chef Wilfred can correct me if I'm doing it wrong. So how much filling? A couple tablespoons? Oh. Wow. I'm going to make it a nice thick one. Then we brushed it.
Yes.
See, I was listening. Then wrap it like a present. Then you dust it with a little bit of flour at the end to make it stronger.
Yes, definitely.
What do you think of that, besides having really messy hands?
It's good.
10 out of 10?
8.
Fair, fair.
We fry off these tasty morsels and they're ready to eat.
Those look awesome, Chef. I know they're going to be boiling hot, and I know I'm meant to only have these on my drive later on, but I'm going to steal one now. That is good. Look at that. That is an intense babudi with all the crispiness of a spring roll. That is so, so good, Chef. Well done. Amazing. Amazing, Precious. Thank you so much.
There is no doubt that being out in the bush is spectacular. But after spending the day with Chef Wilfred and Chef Precious, you realize there is so much more to Sabi Sabi than just the famous luxury accommodation, the awesome food, and the great game you get to see. It's about supporting the communities and all those people supporting each other. And when you put it all together, it's just pure magic.